Alright, here we are back on the XC90 again. Got a split boot. Don't know if it's related to the last repair or not, but a split boot means pretty much taking everything off you can see there, which is the wheel, the brake calipers, rotor, and getting to the axle there, and then replacing the CV boot. So I'm going to get to that and show you what I do in order to do it. So while I'm at it, I'm going to replace the wheel bearing and the disc, brake disc. Alright, you know you got a split boot when there's grease everywhere. Alright, first thing on the list is calipers. So loosening is pulling up in this case, so at least I have the weight of the vehicle to help me, even though I'm kind of lifting instead of pushing. Let's see. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Well, these anti-rattle clips can be challenging sometimes. Let's see how this one goes. So what I ended up doing is just compressing it with a 4-inch C-clamp so I could get the front clips there relieved. You can see where it's a little tab on there. I relieved that and then it just fell right off. Go. That's out of the way. Definitely going to hang that up. It's pretty heavy. Alright, the caliper support bracket is 18 millimeters. Let me just take that off. Clean it up a little bit. Alright, next the rotor's frozen on there. It's all corroded around the hub here, so I'm just going to take my hammer and beat it off. Alright, it just took one whack. Alright, in order to make life easier, I'm just going to go ahead and take the whole wheel carrier off and take the bearing out on the bench. So there's 2 bolts up here. The lower control arm and the tie rod. So I'll just go ahead and take the speed sensor comes off and the bolt that goes into the CV axle. Alright, except for the lower control arm, we are disconnected, and I can pull that off and work on it on the bench a whole lot easier, clean it up. Alright, I just wanted to show you what I was doing to get the wheel bearing out. Of course, I removed the wheel carrier completely, and I did the same thing with the ball joint. See how it's all rusty? Well, anyway, I beat it out with this tree wedge, and I almost got it, so I thought I'd record it. Took me quite a bit of time to get it this far. And that's including soaking. That's right. Almost got it. Alright, I zoomed in here so you can see it's all wet. I really let it soak in penetrating oil. Alright, I'm going to begin the reassembly process. First thing I'm going to do is put some never sees on there for the next person who does this. There's an up and down. You can't put it in wrong or incorrectly. So we'll just set it in place. Get the bolts started here. Get all four started. Well, that's another trick too. No matter what the situation is, start all your bolts before you tighten any one down. That way you know everything's lined up. So, they have some, not Loctite, but they have this material on there to help it, to keep it from vibrating out. Alright, next is the ball joint. I'm glad it's removable like this, a bolt-on application as opposed to a pressed application. That makes life a whole lot easier. I'll use the new hardware since it's already coated. I'm going to slather my anti-seize in here also. You'll notice that it's shaped in a certain way such that the ears allow you to, or it helps make it idiot proof so you don't install it incorrectly. So these little ridges on here kind of bite into the wheel carrier, so it's sort of a force fit to help hold it in place. See, it really doesn't slide down all the way on its own, so when I screw it down, it's going to be a force fit and bite in there and hold itself in place. So no impact wrench on this. I'll tighten it down by hand, and I'll torque it down. Alright, so there we have our bearing in place and our lower control arm ball joint. All good. This is a protective sleeve that'll come off. It just protects it against damage. So be sure and remove that when before you install it. Alright, so here we are, ready for reassembly. The car's been up here for a couple weeks now. I was sent the wrong part, and now I have the correct CV axle. So I'm ready to install my genuine Volvo half axle. I had to get genuine Volvo because I couldn't separate the CV joint from the axle. I just couldn't do it. I tried and tried and tried, couldn't do it. So I think you need a press. I'm not sure, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I ended up getting a new one. They're like $650 retail. I paid a little over $400 for this one. Yes, I did. I tried going aftermarket, but the inner shaft diameter, inner CV shaft diameter was only 1 inch, and I needed 1 1/4 inches, or the equivalent millimeters, I should say. So ended up having to go with genuine Volvo, and even that was a guess because since I was given the wrong part for the vehicle, I didn't make a mistake on identifying the vehicle. I was worried that that it was unique to the V8, but apparently not. So here we go with reassembly. Well, gosh, once I got it lined up, it just slid right in, but I was just kind of fighting it. I had to get the strut out of the way and get it all lined up nice and straight. Now I want to make sure that the strut doesn't damage my new part when I put the wheel carrier on there. So I'm getting nothing but wrong parts for this car. So here's the new wheel bearings. They don't fit. This shaft is larger. Just like the half shaft that I purchased before the original Volvo, where the diameter was too small. Well, too small to fit on the inner. Well, now it's too large to fit on the wheel bearing. So this wheel bearing fits the wrong CV axle that I purchased, but not the right CV axle. So now I need to get wheel bearings and make sure that the diameter of the opening, the spline opening, is 1.2 inches or whatever the millimeter equivalent is. Fun stuff. So I'm going to install the old one because it's still good, and leave that for a job for another day, because I'm not going to do the right side. So when I do the right side, I'll fix this side. Alright, so here we go. At least the ball joint was right. So anyway, I'm going to button this thing back up, hook the strut up, hook the tie rod up, brakes, get it all back together. So I don't know what kind of one-off car this is, but everybody's database is wrong except Volvo. I have to look up the Volvo part number and then cross-reference it to the replacement parts, because just saying that it fits a 2009 Volvo XC90 with a V8 is not working. Well, so there we are, all back together. Fun stuff.